stand here, on the cobblestone streets of Boston, in the autumn of 1770. The air smells of salt water and wood smoke. British redcoats march in perfect formation past your shoulder, their boots cracking against the stone like a drumbeat of occupation. But look close at the faces of the colonists watching from the doorways. There is no fear in their eyes. There is something far more dangerous. There is resentment. There is anger. And in the taverns, whispered in the dark corners of the city, there is talk of rebellion. Nobody in London believes it will come to war. Nobody in Parliament imagines that a scattered collection of farmers and merchants could ever challenge the might of the British Empire. But in just 6 years, these men will sign a document that will not only sever an empire but will plant the seed of a new kind of nation, a superpower that the world had never seen before. This is the story of how a revolution became a birth. In 1763, Great Britain was the undisputed master of the world. Its navy ruled the waves. Its armies had crushed France in the 7 Years' War. The British Empire stretched from the canals of India to the forests of Canada. King George III sat on the throne, confident that his reign would be one of eternal prosperity. And yet, across the Atlantic Ocean, on a narrow ribbon of land along the eastern coast of North America, 13 colonies were quietly growing into something the British could not control. They were prosperous, they were educated, and they were beginning to ask a dangerous question. Why should a parliament 3,000 miles away tell them how to live, how to work, and how to pay their taxes? This question would tear the empire apart. It would burn cities, freeze armies, and cost thousands of lives. But from the ashes of that conflict, a new power would rise. A power built not on monarchy or divine right, but on an idea. The radical, explosive idea that all men are created equal. The year is 1765. The streets of New York are thick with protesters. They are not soldiers. They are shopkeepers, printers, and dock workers. They are burning effigies of British tax collectors in the town square. The cause of their fury is the Stamp Act, a simple piece of legislation from London that requires every piece of printed paper in the colonies, from newspapers to legal documents to playing cards, to carry an official government stamp. The cost is small, but the principle is vast. For the first time, Parliament is directly taxing the colonists for the purpose of raising revenue, not regulating trade. This is not just about money. It is about identity. Imagine walking through the taverns of Philadelphia in the autumn of 1765. The candlelight flickers against wooden walls. Men gather around rough-hewn tables, their voices low and urgent. They speak of tyranny. They speak of liberty. They speak of the ancient rights of Englishmen, rights that they believe are being stripped away by a distant king. James Otis, a firebrand lawyer from Massachusetts, declares that taxation without representation is tyranny. The phrase spreads through the colonies like wildfire. In Boston, a secret society known as the Sons of Liberty takes to the streets. They are ordinary men, silversmiths, distillers, and carpenters who wear masks and disguise themselves as Mohawk warriors. Under the cover of night, they storm the homes of British officials, smash their windows, and burn their furniture. They tar and feather tax collectors and parade them through the streets in humiliation. The British authorities are shocked by the ferocity of the resistance. They repeal the Stamp Act, but they do not learn the lesson. Instead, they pass new taxes on tea, on paper, on glass. Each new act deepens a wound. Each new tax pushes the colonies closer to the edge. By 1770, the atmosphere in Boston is a powder keg. The streets are patrolled by British soldiers who are despised by the locals. The soldiers are poorly paid, and they take side jobs in the city, stealing work from the colonists. Tensions simmer every day, and on the evening of March the 5th, they explode. The snow is melting on the streets of Boston. A crowd gathers in front of the customs house, angry and chanting. They pelt a lone British sentry with snowballs, ice, and oyster shells. The sentry calls for reinforcements. A squad of 7 redcoats, led by Captain Thomas Preston, pushes through the crowd, bayonets fixed. The mob presses closer. They dare the soldiers to fire. They shout insults. And then, in the chaos, a single shot rings out. Smoke fills the air. The soldiers do not wait for orders. They fire a volley into the dense crowd. When the smoke clears, 5 colonists lie dead or dying on the cobblestones. Among them is Crispus Attucks, a man of African and Native American descent, who will later be remembered as the first martyr of the Revolution. The massacre is a propaganda goldmine for the rebels. Paul Revere, a silversmith and engraver, creates a now famous print of the event. In his depiction, the British soldiers are lined up in perfect order, firing on unarmed civilians, a distortion of the chaotic reality. But the image sears itself into the colonial imagination. From this moment on, the British are no longer seen as protectors. They are seen as butchers. The soldiers are put on trial. John Adams, a brilliant lawyer and a patriot himself, agrees to defend them. He believes in the rule of law. He argues that the soldiers were provoked and acted in self-defense. 6 are acquitted. 2 are convicted of manslaughter and branded on their thumbs. Justice is served, but the damage is done. The line has been crossed. Blood has been spilled. And the idea of reconciliation between the colonies and the mother country is now a fading dream. Fast forward to the spring of 1775. The British general, Thomas Gage, has orders to arrest the rebel leaders, Samuel Adams and John Hancock, and to seize a cache of colonial weapons stored in the town of Concord. He dispatches an elite force of 700 redcoats to march through the night. They row across the Charles River in silence, their muffled oars cutting the water. But the colonists have eyes everywhere. In the bell tower of the Old North Church in Boston, a signal is arranged. 1 lantern if the British come by land, 2 if they come by sea. 2 lanterns blaze in the night. Paul Revere, William Dawes, and Samuel Prescott mount their horses and ride out into the countryside, raising the alarm. The famous midnight ride is desperate and wild. Revere is captured before he reaches Concord, but Prescott makes it through, shouting to every sleeping farmhouse, "The regulars are out." By dawn on the 19th of April, hundreds of colonial militia, farmers, blacksmiths, and school teachers have assembled on the village green of Lexington. They are outnumbered 10 to 1. They are tired. They have no uniforms, but they have muskets in their hands and a determination in their hearts. The British column arrives at sunrise. Major John Pitcairn orders a militia to lay down their arms and disperse. The colonists refuse. A shot rings out. To this day, nobody knows who fired it, but the British respond with a deafening volley. 8 militiamen lie dead on the grass. The British march on to Concord, where they find most of the weapons already hidden. Their mission is a failure. As they retreat back to Boston, a furious storm of colonial fire descends upon them. Militiamen line the roads, hiding behind stone walls and trees, picking off the redcoats one by one. By the time the British reach the safety of Boston, they have suffered nearly 300 casualties. The colonists have lost only 93. The American Revolution has begun. The year is 1776. The colonial army, led by George Washington, has laid siege to Boston and forced the British to evacuate. But the war is far from won. In June, the Continental Congress gathers in Philadelphia, inside the sweltering heat of the Pennsylvania State House. The men who sit inside are a collection of unlikely revolutionaries. They are lawyers, planters, and merchants. They are wealthy and educated. They know that signing this document means they will be executed as traitors if they lose. There will be no mercy. Thomas Jefferson, a tall, red-haired Virginian, is tasked with drafting the document. He sits at his portable writing desk, dipping his quill into the inkwell. He writes under the immense pressure of history. He does not create a legal treatise. He writes a poem of rebellion. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When the delegates vote on the 2nd of July, they declare the colonies free and independent states. 2 days later, on the 4th of July, they formally adopt the Declaration. In the streets of Philadelphia, citizens cheer, bells ring, and bonfires blaze. But for the signers, there is no time for celebration. They have just declared war against the most powerful empire on earth. They have just committed an act of treason so profound that there is no turning back. Now the empire strikes back. In August of 1776, the largest naval armada Britain has ever assembled arrives in New York Harbor. Hundreds of ships, carrying over 30,000 soldiers and 1,000 cannons, darken the water like a floating city. The British commander, General William Howe, plans to crush the rebellion in one decisive blow. Washington's army is routed in the Battle of Long Island. They retreat in chaos, fleeing through the night to Manhattan. And then they retreat again and again. The summer of 1776 is a season of humiliation. Washington is outmaneuvered, outgunned, and outnumbered. The British drive him all the way across New Jersey. The Continental Army shrinks from 20,000 men to barely 3,000. Morale collapses. Deserters flee into the frozen countryside. The rebellion appears to be over. But Washington is a man of iron will. On Christmas night, 1776, he hatches a desperate plan. The Delaware River is choked with chunks of ice. A brutal winter storm lashes the crossing. Washington and his ragged, starving soldiers climb into flat-bottomed boats and cross the river into the darkness. Their target is Trenton, New Jersey, where a garrison of Hessian mercenaries sleeps soundly after their Christmas festivities. At dawn, the Americans attack. They catch the Hessians completely by surprise. In less than an hour, they capture over 900 prisoners. The victory is small in military terms, but its impact on morale is incalculable. It is proof that the army can still fight. It is proof that Washington is a leader of courage and cunning. The revolution is not dead. It is just beginning. The war drags on. The British capture Philadelphia, the seat of the Continental Congress. Washington's army spends a winter of 1777 to 1778 at Valley Forge, a frozen hell of starvation, disease, and frostbite. Men die by the hundreds. Their bare feet leave bloody footprints in the snow. But among the suffering, a Prussian military officer named Friedrich von Steuben drills the soldiers into a professional fighting force. He teaches them how to march, how to fire in formation, and how to use a bayonet. By the spring, they emerge from Valley Forge as a disciplined army. Meanwhile, the revolutionaries achieve a diplomatic masterstroke. Benjamin Franklin, the oldest and wisest of the founding fathers, has been in Paris, charming the French court. He wears a simple fur cap and plain brown coat, perfectly playing the role of the humble American frontiersman. The French, who have been secretly supplying the American for years, finally agree to a formal alliance. They enter the war against Britain. This changes everything. The French Navy arrives, challenging British control of the Atlantic. The decisive moment comes in 1781. A British army under General Cornwallis is trapped in Yorktown, Virginia, with the French Navy blocking the Chesapeake Bay and Washington's army closing in from the land. Cornwallis is surrounded. On October 19th, the British band plays a melancholy tune called The World Turned Upside Down. Cornwallis surrenders his sword. The war is effectively over. The Treaty of Paris is signed in 1783. The British recognize the independence of the United States of America. The 13 colonies are no longer colonies. They are a sovereign nation. But the real miracle is yet to come. After the war, the general could have seized power. Washington could have become a king. The army could have ruled by the sword. But Washington, the man who could have had everything, chooses to resign his commission. He returns to his farm at Mount Vernon. He sets a precedent that will echo through the ages, that the military is subordinate to the civilian government. And then, in 1787, the Founding Fathers gather once more in Philadelphia. They craft the Constitution, a framework of government built upon checks and balances, on the rule of law, and on the consent of the governed. It is far from perfect. It compromises on slavery, a sin that will tear the nation apart a century later. But the experiment they launch is unprecedented. A nation without a king. A people who govern themselves. From this small, fragile rebellion, a superpower would rise. A nation of immigrants, of dreamers, of radicals and rebels. A nation that, for all its flaws and contradictions, would become a beacon of liberty to millions around the world. And yet, it all began with a whisper in a Boston tavern. It began with a single shot on a green in Lexington. It began with a group of ordinary men who dared to believe that they could build something new. History never truly disappears. It lives on in the streets we walk, in the freedoms we hold, in the endless argument between tyranny and liberty that rages in every generation. If you enjoyed this journey through the birth of a superpower, consider subscribing to World Documentary History. We bring the past to life, one cinematic story at a time. And tell us in the comments, what chapter of the American Revolution would you like us to reconstruct next? The Siege of Boston? The Winter at Valley Forge? Or perhaps a journey into the lives of the enslaved men and women who also fought for their freedom? The story is never over. It is waiting for you to turn the page.